exporting this, okay? So I'll do that again. I've copied these onto the Windows clipboard. I've got that dotted line go around the outside of it, and now go back to TILOS, and in TILOS I go File, Import, okay? And there are a number of imports possibilities, but all of the ones apart from the first one you have to buy, and you haven't, okay? We'll talk about this one later.
Okay.
That's where you can save it from P6 as an XML format, and we'll take everything, logic links, resources, WBS, everything. But you haven't got that, so we're talking about this today, okay? So we select that
Plain
item.
text data.
Yeah, and what it really means is Windows clipboard, okay? Or it could be a CSV file. So here we say, is it in a CSV file or is it on the Windows clipboard? And if you don't get a bit of grey text, you haven't copied it correctly, you know.
Oh, okay, great.
So quite obvious. Sometimes people call the help desk and they say, oh, there's nothing there. The trouble is, if I've been in here and edited something, I've not got it selected. It's not on the clipboard. So if I go next, there's nothing there. So on the preview, it's always good to just make sure that there is something there. It's just indicative that you've got some information on the clipboard. Okay, so then we go next. And then this is the absolutely crucial part. There's this idea of a profile. And I think in P6, when you export something, they call it a template. And that is the rules by which we say what information is in which column on the clipboard. Okay, so I'm going to make a new one so that you can see it. And I'm going to edit this, just called New Exchange Profile. I'm going to edit it and call this Hill International A21, for example. And so there's a couple of things down the bottom here. This is the date format we're expecting from Excel. Okay, so we don't have hours and minutes in our Excel document. Okay, so we can get rid of that. So that's what I said. If you had this the wrong way around, chaos might happen. So this is really, really important. Okay. And this is also important in that we're saying we are doing this in meters. Maybe in the sheet you've got it in, somebody's giving it you in kilometers with decimal places. That's fine, but you need to have the right, you know, expectation about
what's tell it which one,
what's coming in. Yeah, and this is the first row of my spreadsheet has got some descriptions, some headlines, and we're going to ignore it. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So in the spreadsheet, column 1 is activity name, so we're going to ignore that one. We said we've got a headline, got one headline. We could have none or two, okay? And then for the actual data itself, we're going to take information about tasks, so we need to tick that, and then we need to go behind it either by double clicking here or by clicking on the edit button. And now we're at a dialog. We've got all the data fields in TILOS. And we're going to choose which one and say which column it's in. So the first one is always the ID number. It doesn't have to be the first column. You can change that. But the first one we've got is the ID number. And the next one, if I type the first letter like N for name, it comes to the first item begin with N. So I can move it from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, or I can double click on it. So the second column will be the name, and I'll just remind myself about what it is. Then we got start date, okay. So then we got and we could choose them in the wrong order and change them around later on. So I've got start date, start distance, I've got task template name, which I'll come back to, and I've got end date and end distance. So if I just now need to move them around, so I've got start and end date together, start and end distance together, and the template name, what it is in the library here, is in column 7 of the one selected. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we haven't got this selected. So this is column 1, okay, not column 2. Yeah, we could have selected everything and adjusted these numbers. So that is my and as long as I don't change the column order, this will always work. Okay. So we and that's all we have to do. And we could have a different profile for a different reason. I'm actually going to go back to it, and I'm going to say, because there's an idea in here called layers, I'm going to also make the layer the same as the template name. So I'm going to put the layer name will be the same as the template name. We can turn it on and off easily that way. So I've just selected the profile. So the first time you've got to make it, then you've got to say, well, I'm going to import with this profile. So you can have different profiles. Click on finish, and it's created all those activities. And if I say close, it's going to display them on the diagram. And each of these I've created in advance, and I've given these a different shape and color. Okay. And I've also hidden the text. Okay, so it's created text at an 8-point font, and so you can see what happens is you've got some very long bits of text. This isn't too bad, but you're going to end up and this bit here, fill verse, this is where all the stuff that's gone to 0 has gone. Okay, so around here somewhere you've got all the things that have got that don't work really, and then you've got all this stuff, loads of stuff, so you can simplify it by using layers. So layers are, every item can have a layer, and then you can turn layers on and off. So if I didn't want to see the cutting, then we can hide the cutting, which are the yellow triangles, or I can hide the fill, which are the orange triangles, the upside down, the different triangles. So
yeah,
but you end up with text that's in the wrong place. So you've got to and you've got very long descriptions. Maybe you want that to be bottom center like that, and maybe so unfortunately there is no way around this. You've got to, first time round, you've got to play with that and get the position, or you might think, well, Christ, do we really need all this stuff? It says what it's chop, saw, sip, change. Well, we know that, don't we? So we can change the name of that. Or maybe we could have an alternative name in another user-defined text code in P6.
Yeah, I could do that in P6, and then when I import it...
Why do you need all these changes? Because you know where it is. The change is implicit in what you're doing, And then you've got some time.
Realistically, in P6, I don't want to change the name, but I could change it in a user-defined name.
Yeah. But here you've got a one-day activity, for example.
Yeah.
So you're not really going to see that very well. Oh, it's there, but this is what we're talking about here. You've got two cut items going on at the same time in apparently the same place. So this one is cut northwest, chainage whatever, and this one is southbound slip.
Yeah.
So they're both on top of each other. Okay. Now, what is possible, and this is, and I'm going to do this live. So I'm going to select one item on the diagram. Okay. I'm going to do Control A to select everything. I'm going to hit the delete key, so everything's gone. Okay. I've deleted all the tasks. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my sub-project library. I'm going to right mouse click and make a new sub-project, which I'm going to call Southbound Slip. Is there an on and off on both of them? I can't remember. Anyway, I'll just say the southbound slip. I'm going to do the same thing. Add a new sub-project called northbound slip. Okay. So if I edit that, I can say what the ID. So I'm going to call that NB for northbound. Okay. I'm going to edit that and call this SB for southbound. So you would probably, and I'm going to call this MR for main road. So now in my spreadsheet, I really need to introduce a new column called section or something that is going to be, the vast majority are going to be MR. Okay, so I'm going to copy that. And this is why Excel is good for editing, of course. And then I'm going to say, well, let's find all the things that contain southbound. It might be, we might have to say southbound slip. Can't remember. So that's just southbound. I think you should say southbound slip to be on the safe side.
Yeah.
So we've got northeast and southeast. I don't understand what that means. So, you know, maybe they're different.
And both of those are actuals as well. So it won't show them anyway, will it? It's a start date and.
Oh, okay. Date. So let's edit that then, so it will show them. And then let's just do that again because I wasn't convinced. Yeah, there are really only two of those. Amazing.
Or you do a text filter and SP on one and then and slip one.
Well, you're probably better at, so I'd do MB. You're probably better at Excel than I am, but really, I thought there was something.
Yeah, if you just go back to the filter you had, yeah, contain. And then on the first one, just put NB, and then on the next bit it says and then on the drop down put contains. Slip.
I say as two separate words somewhere, not together. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Off slip. We've got off slip. Okay. Yeah. Very good. I learned something.
And yeah, again, I mean, to be honest, I love using Excel. And
yeah, so
I like using it more than Primavera anyway.
Yeah, yeah, except there's no logic in this. There's no, you no idea what's going on. Yeah. Okay, so I've changed that. So I've got this extra column that's got what sub-project it's in. So before I do anything in TILOS, I need to now create a space where I'm going to put the southbound and northbound slip as separate things. So I've got to put it not in the middle. I have to put it to the left or right hand side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the northbound slip on one side of the diagram. So this is, I'm editing the view. I'm creating a new column in the on the sheet. Okay, and this column, this cell, is going to be a time and distance cell. Okay, and what it's going to contain, it's going to contain the northbound slip data only. Okay, and we're going to inherit its time range from the cell on the right hand side, so it's got the right things, and it's going to have its own distance values, which I presently don't know what they are. So let's go back to our spreadsheet and say, well, show me all the northbound things. So that's between, so we haven't got, so we're between 3, so let's say between 3,250 and 4,000. 3,250. Okay, let's put 4,000 in first. So we've only got activities that are sitting at that chainage in this little diagram here on the left-hand side, yeah? Yeah. And to make that the same horizontal scale, that's got to be, so let's say that's 90 meters a centimeter. So this is also, if I make this 90, so that is the correct relative size for those two things. And if I now use the same grid line set that I've chosen previously, and so we've got the same thing here. So this, remember, this content is called simple, it's called KM, no, cell content KM plus, okay, so this cell, and this has been recorded, so don't worry. So this is a distance cell. Its cell content is the same name as the one we've made already, but it is picking up its distance measurement from the cell below. So this is, if we zoomed in, that's just 3K, that bit, yeah, because we know what. And if I go to the bottom, I've got another cell. I put a ruler at the bottom as well because this was such a long diagram. So this is also a distance cell, and it's got a different cell content, which is the other way around. So it's got meterage then kilometerage, and we're taking the measurement from above. So we can very easily, and so this is going to be this is our main road, this one, the central one. This is our northbound carriageway, northbound slip, let's say. So I need to now, on the right hand side of this cell, add another column, which is going to be for, and this column is going to be, so let's go back to our spreadsheet and say this is our southbound. So what's the range extent? So our southbound is from 2.3 to 2.6 or something. So so this is going to be a time and distance cell. It's going to contain only the southbound slip. We don't want to adjust it because we're going to get the time range from the left hand cell, and we're going to say this was from 2000. No, always do that. The end's got to be bigger. So
yeah, 2.6 to 2000.
Was that right? 2.2. Yeah, so we always make it bigger and smaller, and that was 90. Okay, so that's a little bit smaller. Again, if we click here now, we can change the grid to be the ones we used before. We can change so I've got to do a bit of faffing about. So I've got to still say this is another new cell. This is another distance cell. It's got the same content, the same ruler that we had before, but it's picking up its distance measurement from the cell below. So you see how we can make, and these could be, we could slice something out, and we could have one at a different scale to another. So people often have a time cell, 2 time distance cells. The top one's got a date range for the next 3 months at quite a large scale, and the bit below it has got a time scale for a longer period. So you can have sort of concatenated outputs, if that makes sense. Okay, so there's a bit of bonus for you, and I'll put your logo in and a bit of a title block you can edit later on. But now, if we reduce our timescale, and so we've changed the spreadsheet, remember? Yeah?
Yeah, how does it...
So now we've got to adjust, exactly, so we need to select this and adjust our import profile. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to TILOS, File, Import, Next, Next. I'm going to edit the one that I've made before, double click here, and I'm going to choose from my left-hand list, I'm looking for sub-project ID. So sub-project ID is going to be in column 8, which is correct, okay? So we've adjusted our import profile to match our spreadsheet. So when we say OK, it's created the same number of tasks. And so over here...
So it's redrawn it now, but it's got these sub-projects on there.
Yes.
And it's in the left and right-hand side.
Yeah, so in P6, you would need to have another activity code library or user-defined field where you said it was, if it was in the northbound slip or the... you know, whichever bit of, and that's like a bit like having a branch road or a, and so now it's a bit of a, it's not as a messy a diagram as you had before, and it's actually, but I've still got fill turned off on that one, and I still think you've got a bit of a problem there because you've still got these two things going on at the same time. So you've got a mainline fill, and this one here is Clay Core North, but from this diagram you're doing them both in the same place at the same time. To me, that's a bit of a problem. Maybe on the ground, that's not a problem. But and so, as well as a rescheduling task, we've got no links here. This button will do what's called clash detection. So show me all the things where there's one thing imposing on another in distance or time. And you've got quite a lot of them, actually.
There's
If
a
I
few,
click on filter, then all of those to me would potentially be a problem.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So here you're on a sub base, but you haven't yet finished your fill, and maybe that's okay. But maybe there's a bridge or something, or I don't know. So there are some tools that you've got available to relieve that situation. Anyway, so I'm going to send you. I'm going to just put your logo, which you can adjust, of course. I'm going to make a key over here. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a legend. Which is a area where we can say what these different colors and patterns are. So now at the bottom, I can choose the entries that go in my library from my roadwork section. So I want these items to be displayed in that section. So that's showing me what the different colors and patterns represent, and you could change them later, of course. And I probably want to have a 12-point font or something. And then we need to give it a bit of a text header. So I'm going to create a text box. So I just draw a box now and say this is legend. I'm going to make that bold and bigger, maybe, to make it stand out. Just position that above there and go at the bottom right hand corner, import our graphic that we did before.
Oh yeah.
Both scales. An OLE object that already exists. And that's installed on your computer as well when you install the software. So then you can double click on that and edit that in your own time.
Yeah.
So there you go. So if you just select one of these things, Control A to select it all and delete key, it will delete everything. But the next time, if I move this bit of text about, so I get that looking like I want it to look, the next time I import, if I don't delete, it will only update the tasks. It will not update the text, okay? So if that were to change, maybe you say, well, that's now happening on the 27th.
Yeah.
That would move down, but the text, the relative offset of the text would remain. So once you've edited the text, don't delete the tasks, just re-import, because it will pick up the ID number and it will say, oh, this ID exists, let's just update it, not create a new one. Okay. 5 minutes for questions, then I'm going to